The old man's jaw dropped in fear, and his eyes widened as he realized it was a ship from the Adrit Bloodstripe family of the Silverstone sector. The powerful spaceship landed near them. The old man recalled that this troublesome race wasn't supposed to arrive until the afternoon. With a cheerful expression, Qinghe approached the ship, her eyes beginning to shine with surprise as a smile spread across her face. The ship was truly magnificent. As the wind blew, she closed her eyes, extended a hand towards the ship, and with an excited smile, began to record a video, mentioning that the ship was almost as large as several of Baiha City's gyms combined. Shortly after, the spaceship's door opened. From it emerged two wolf-like warriors. One wore golden armor and carried a spear as a weapon. The warriors began to observe Qinghe, and the others in silence. Qinghe's attention was fixed on them, and her eyes began to shine with surprise. They were furries, and she found them very handsome. With a serious gaze, they began to descend from the platform to the ground. Then, the attention of the warrior with a scar over his eye was caught by something, and his eyes widened with confusion and curiosity. He didn't know what was going on. Qinghe moved even closer and, holding her phone with both hands, began to record. She wanted to film everything. The warrior observed her in silence, as it was the first time he had seen someone behave like her. His patience soon ran out, and clenching his fist tightly, with a furious gaze, he stared at her and asked what she was doing. The warrior and his men surrounded poor Qinghe. Noticing this, the old man's eyes filled with fear, causing him to panic. This was not good. The young lady's actions were a huge problem. With a furious look, he turned to his men and ordered them to follow him quickly, as this was a major diplomatic incident. His subordinate looked at him with a confused expression and nodded. The warrior and his subordinates began to stare at Qinghe in silence. Noticing their gazes, all she could do was feel somewhat confused. The wolves raised their heads, closed their eyes, and began to howl, causing a powerful energy to start emerging from their bodies. Qinghe's eyes, who was still recording everything, widened in surprise and confusion, leaving her in shock. She didn't know what was happening. Not long after, more werewolves emerged from the ship, surrounded Qinghe, and began to stare at her with piercing glares. Poor Qinghe placed her hands on her chest and felt scared, as she didn't know why everyone was gathering around her. Intuition told Lu Qinghe that, once again, she seemed to have caused trouble. The leader's eyes began to glow with fury. He extended his hand and declared that she must pay for what she had just done. As a powerful energy surged from his body, the leader prepared his claw to strike. All Qinghe could do was close her eyes and brace for the worst. Just as the leader was about to attack, the old man came running, extended his hand, and with a desperate expression, pleaded for him to wait. Hearing the old man's voice, the leader became somewhat curious and confused. While Qinghe was trembling with fear, clutching her phone, the old man stood in front of her, with his hands outstretched and a serious expression. He begged for her forgiveness. He explained that she didn't know their rules and hadn't acted on purpose, insisting that ignorance was not a sin. Noticing the commotion, Lu Sheng's father and mother panicked and began running towards them, their eyes filled with worry, as they didn't know if something had happened to Qinghe. The leader calmed down a bit, pointed to himself with his thumb, and with a proud expression, explained that the great wolves of Adrit Bloodstripe never allowed anyone to take their photos. Then he began to stare fixedly at Qinghe with a furious expression, declaring that this was a profanation and an insult that must be punished. Qinghe ran to her mother. With a confused gaze, the mother hugged her daughter. The father was even more confused and went into shock, as he couldn't believe that taking a photo was so serious. The old man's subordinate approached the father and, with a sincere expression, began to whisper to him that what the Adrit Bloodstripe wolf tribe hated most was having their pictures taken, as they stubbornly believed it was an extreme sign of disrespect towards them. The father listened in silence without interrupting. The subordinate began to recall the wolf tribe massacring people, the ground filled with corpses, and revealed that due to this taboo, the Adrit Bloodstripe family had clashed with many media outlets and factions, even leading to bloody incidents. With tears in her eyes, Qinghe asked her mother what they were going to do now. With a serene expression, the mother hugged her daughter and told her not to be afraid, as the diplomat was negotiating on their behalf. Meanwhile, the old man and the wolf leader were arguing. The diplomat's mission was to calm the leader down so that he would forgive Qinghe. The elf-eared subordinate extended his hand and spoke frankly. This was terrible. The tribe had said they would wash away the affront with human heads and blood. Something bad was about to happen. Hearing this, Qinghe, her father, her mother, and Snowy couldn't help but feel afraid. The father's face was drenched in sweat, and with a desperate expression he wondered what they could possibly do now. They had only come as tourists, with no way of knowing the rules of this place. With fear in her eyes, the mother begged the diplomat's subordinate to plead for them. Snowy's eyes began to shine with fear and desperation as she asked if there wasn't even the slightest room for negotiation. The subordinate held out his hands and, with a calm look, explained that the Adrit Bloodstripe wolves were incredibly stubborn beast warriors. In this situation, there was no solution unless the council president came in person. They all remained silent, not knowing what would happen next. At that moment, a crack appeared in the sky and slowly began to shatter. Several seconds later, Sebastian, with his arms behind his back and his eyes closed, emerged from the crack, and his body began to release a powerful energy. Sebastian walked past the subordinate and, in a calm tone, told him he had done a good job and that he would take it from here. The subordinate's eyes filled with surprise, and with sweat on his face, he awaited the president's orders. Sebastian stood before the wolf leader, observed him intently, and asked the Adrit Bloodstripe tribe to stop and listen to him. After pondering for a moment, the leader did not calm down and, with a furious look, declared that even if President Sebastian pleaded, his clan's faith would never bend. Noticing this, Sebastian began to fly towards the leader. Lu Sheng's family remained silent, not knowing what would happen now. Sebastian flew up to the leader's ear and began to whisper, revealing who they really were. The wolf leader's expression changed. His fury vanished, replaced by surprise and fear. He couldn't believe they were the family of the legendary immortal warrior. Without wasting another second, the wolves calmed down and began to howl. Lu Sheng's family fixed their attention on them, and the father's eyes widened in confusion. The arrogant tribe leader and his men knelt like knights before Lu Sheng's family. The leader placed a hand on his chest, bowed his head to them, and in a sincere tone, apologized for his ignorance and rudeness, begging them to accept the deepest apologies of the Adrit Bloodstripe clan. Seeing this, Lu Sheng's sister placed her hands on her chest in confusion. She and the others were in shock, as they didn't know why the wolves' attitude had suddenly changed or why they were showing respect. Snowy observed them intently, and a relieved smile spread across her face. She had thought that, with the arrival of the council president Lu Sheng had mentioned, the matter would be resolved out of consideration for him. However, she didn't expect this, and it made her wonder what status Lu Sheng truly held now. Qingyi approached the leader and with a nervous expression asked if she could continue taking their pictures. The leader snapped out of his trance and felt somewhat surprised. His eyes began to shine with joy, and, giving a thumbs up, he nodded with a smile, replying that of course she could. She absolutely should. He stood up, as he considered this wasn't enough to express his sincerity. Clenching his fist tightly, he called his men to get in position and strike the scorpion pose. Blushing and a bit confused, Qingyi took a photo with the leader and his men. The wolves even began to pose with Qingyi. Noticing this, the diplomat's eyes filled with surprise, and his jaw dropped in shock. He couldn't believe that the Adrit Bloodstripe clan, the very same one that hated being photographed the most, was now taking part in a group photo. It was like a dream. He began to sweat like crazy. He was sure this would be on the front page of the Yamu Federation Daily the next day, and wondered what kind of status these travelers had. It was too incredible. Days later, Lu Sheng's spaceship reached the planet and prepared to land at the port. Meanwhile, Lu Sheng was browsing on his phone until he opened the group chat, where he saw that Qingyi had sent the photos she had taken with the wolf tribe. In one of the photos, the wolves were showing off their biceps while Qingyi posed with a smile. Our boy couldn't help but smile and feel happy. He had been worried that his parents wouldn't adapt or be happy upon arriving in star space, but it seemed he had underestimated his family's ability to accept new things. A confident smile appeared on his face. With the technological level of the Yamu star sector, it was very simple to make his parents live for more than 1,000 years, and if they also practiced a bit of martial arts in their free time, they could live even longer. He knew there was nothing more painful in the world than the moment you want to care for your parents, and they are no longer there. This was the last thing he wanted to happen. Several hours later, Lu Sheng's ship landed, and our boy emerged from it. Sebastian and his men were waiting. Sebastian welcomed him back and commented that, from the looks of it, he seemed to have made great achievements. Next to Sebastian was a long-haired man with his arms behind his back. Sebastian gestured towards the man and explained that the Interstellar Martial Arts Geniuses Exchange Tournament would begin in a few days, with Lu Sheng as the main star. Then, he introduced his companion. This was Olu, the commander-in-chief of the battlefront. Lu Sheng began to show a cheerful smile. Ecclesia took a step forward and, with a serene smile, informed him that Xingju Liao, a 3S-level galactic criminal wanted by 8-star sectors, had been defeated along with his large band of space pirates. It was all thanks to him, and because of this, she had received no less than 200 letters of thanks from different star sectors. Lan, who was standing behind her, was in shock and then began to observe Lu Sheng. Xingju Liao was a figure at the pinnacle of level 11, who had even been on the battlefield of outer space. Although he later deserted, his strength was still fearsome. Lan knew that he himself couldn't have eliminated him, not even with all his people. Yet, Lu Sheng had managed it. With a serious gaze, Ecclesia revealed that the Heidi Star Sector had once sent 3 level 11 enforcers to capture him, and he still managed to escape. However, in Lu Sheng's hands, not a trace of him was left. This was too incredible. His level had to be immortal. Olu gave a thumbs up and, with a smile, mentioned that crushingly defeating a peak level 11 while only being level 10 demonstrated that, without a doubt, heroes are born young. Lu Sheng remained silent, his mind filled with confusion. He thanked them and asked what exactly the battlefield of outer space was, asking them to tell him in detail. Ecclesia approached Lu Sheng, crossed her arms, and with a smile mentioned that he would have to go there sooner or later anyway, so it was good to get ahead and learn about it. Lu Sheng nodded. She extended her hand and made a system window appear. Looking at it, she explained that the interspace battlefield was the rift between their universe and a different one, a space born from their collision, making it the main battlefield where their universe faced the other world. Our boy listened in silence and grew curious. The system began to display a warrior fighting a horde of beasts. Ecclesia pointed out that countless martial prodigies, powerhouses, and monsters across the starry sky chose to forge themselves in the interspace battlefield, and for this reason, it was also known as the Cradle of the Strong. Lu Sheng grew serious and questioned if this wasn't the same as the abyssal dimension. Ecclesia pondered in silence. Lu Sheng's eyes began to shine with determination as he revealed that he had always been curious about the origin of the alien beast invasion and asked for an explanation. In a serene tone, she revealed that it was just an alien universe that had collided with theirs, and that this wasn't really an invasion. Sooner or later, they would be completely driven out, and a counterattack was not out of the question. Lu Sheng sank into his thoughts, and his expression turned sad as he realized that to them, this was just an alien universe. It was clear they were taking the invasion lightly, even talking about a counterattack. Then, he clenched his fist, and a powerful energy began to surge from his body. The higher-ups of the starry sky were still largely optimistic about the situation, even believing they had everything under control. He wondered if the rank of a level 12 executor was too low, or if even the most powerful beings in this universe were still unaware of the Dark Lord's existence. Lu Sheng's gaze lifted to the sky as he thought in silence, knowing that waiting 7 years for the Dark Lord to invade would be too late. Lu Sheng lowered his gaze to the ground and asked her if she knew what the Dark Lord was. Hearing this, Ecclesia's eyes widened in surprise and confusion. She didn't know what that was. On the other hand, Sebastian began to stroke his beard in silence. Olu looked intently at Lu Sheng and with a confused expression asked him where he had heard that term. Noticing Olu's expression, Lu Sheng couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. He was sincere and revealed that he had once felt inexplicable fluctuations of consciousness coming from another world, deep in the ocean of his home planet, in a cavern overrun by alien beasts. Within them, there was a reference to the Dark Lord. While Ecclesia had her arms crossed, Sebastian gestured and asked Olu if he knew what a Dark Lord was. Olu's expression changed. He turned serious and revealed that he had heard the term on the alien battlefield. The image of a battlefield came to his mind. Dark Lord was a respectful title given to powerful beings of a certain level in the alien universe. Olu looked at them intently and revealed that if their strength were compared to the standards of our own universe, it would be roughly equivalent to a level 16 expert. Hearing this, Sebastian's and Ecclesia's eyes widened in surprise and fear, leaving them in shock. Lu Sheng was just as stunned as he remembered that level 16 was equivalent to the strength of his mentor, Yang Yizhou, the lord of a star region. Lu Sheng began to recall the beast he had fought at the bottom of the sea, and his eyes widened in surprise. He found it incredible that a star region was a collection of countless galaxies, and that indescribable shadow invading from the abyssal caverns of the blue planet's sea was level 16. With a confused expression, Sebastian began to look at Olu and questioned if a level 16 expert could appear on a primary resource planet like Lu Sheng's mother star. Olu looked down at the floor in silence, and then in a sincere tone, he admitted that perhaps it was just an alien life form that knew the name of a Dark Lord, but its level was definitely not low. Sebastian listened in silence without interrupting. Olu put his arms behind his back and mentioned that a level 16 expert could rule a large star region. Generally, level 11 or 12 experts were unaware of their existence, and he had only learned of this by chance after becoming the commander-in-chief of the battlefield. Olu's tone became calm as he stated that, regardless, if this was true, it deserved their attention. He asked Lu Sheng to give him the coordinates of the cave he had mentioned later, as he would like to personally visit his home planet. Lu Sheng began to show a serene smile, saying it was no problem, although deep down, he thought it would be fantastic if the commander-in-chief could uncover the problem with the abyssal caverns and report it. This would get the attention of the higher-ups in the Celestial Serpent Galaxy, and by the time the 7-year deadline arrived, they would be fully prepared. Undoubtedly, this would minimize losses and save countless lives, something he couldn't do alone. They boarded the spaceship, which took off and began to soar through the vast starry space. Inside the ship, our boy told them everything about the abyssal caverns as they headed to the location. A few hours later, while Sebastian was stroking his beard, he revealed with a serious gaze that they had arrived at their destination. Everyone began to walk towards the spaceship's window. In front of them was a large, shining platform. Everyone's attention was fixed on it, leaving them somewhat amazed. Lu Sheng felt a bit confused upon noticing they were surrounded by so many asteroids. As Sebastian's eyes were shining, he mentioned with a smile that all of these were brought in specifically to be used as spectator stands. Lu Sheng's curiosity only grew. Gesturing towards Sebastian, he asked how many people could fit here. Covering his mouth, Sebastian replied that the tickets for the asteroids had already sold out. Originally, they had planned to reserve only 300 spectator seats, but they had added 4 more, and now they totaled 1,500. The place was packed with spaceships, and Sebastian explained that, adding up the food, clothing, lodging, transportation, entertainment, and other expenses generated by the huge number of participants, the economic growth from this competition had reached an unprecedented peak. Closing his eyes, with a smile, Sebastian placed a hand on Lu Sheng's shoulder and revealed that this was equivalent to the total tax revenue of their sub-Jupiter region for the last 50 stellar years, thanking him on behalf of the Sub-Jupiter Federation. Hearing this, Lu Sheng couldn't help but feel a bit surprised. Then, his eyes began to shine with joy, and a smile spread across his face as he realized that 50 stellar years, when converted, were hundreds of Earth years. The profit was truly enormous, and this explained why they were putting all their resources at his disposal. They stood in silence, contemplating the platform. Sebastian's eyes began to shine with confidence, and with a smile, he mentioned that other regions would want to follow their example, but they couldn't because they didn't have geniuses with immortal-level transcendental physiques. And if the competition could be held once, then there would be a second and a third. Their region, Sub-Jupiter, had really taken off this time. Ecclesia felt somewhat confused. She approached Sebastian, began to look at him intently, and reminded him that the crime rate had also reached an all-time high. With a confident expression, Sebastian waved his hand dismissively, saying that it didn't matter, since with the economic boom, there would be many solutions in the future. Hearing this, her eyes filled with surprise as she didn't expect Sebastian to say that. Stroking his beard, Sebastian began to look outside and called out to our boy, informing him that, besides him, the Sub-Jupiter region had nominated several other talented contestants and that he would take him to meet them. Lu Sheng snapped out of his trance and began to observe Sebastian in silence. Their spaceship arrived at one of the asteroids and stopped. Not far away, several warriors were fighting, their swords clashing against each other and creating powerful waves of energy. A blue-haired woman was taking on several warriors by herself. After attacking, she retreated to catch her breath. The warriors gripped their swords tightly and, without a second's hesitation, lunged at her, ready to finish her off. As they were slowly getting closer, the woman crouched down and focused. She stood up and released a wave of energy, which sent the attackers flying backward. They realized how strong she was. As a powerful energy emerged from her body, Sebastian observed her intently and explained to Lu Sheng that she was Bing Long, a warrior over 900 years old who was at the peak of level 11. Despite having defeated several warriors, she was ready to fight again. Sebastian added that she also possessed a Lunamoon grade transcendental physique, and judging by her state, she hadn't even used her full combat power. Because of this, her strength could be compared to that of a level 12. And he suggested that perhaps they could interact more in private. Their ship landed, and they all got off. Noticing this, Binglong and her men began to advance towards them. She and her men closed their eyes and bowed their heads before them, addressing them by their titles, Mr. President, Executor, and Commander-in-Chief. Lu Sheng began to show a serene expression. Noticing this, Binglong's attention fixed on our boy, and she became somewhat curious, asking who he was. With a nervous smile, Sebastian mentioned that he was sure everyone knew this person. Lu Sheng. Lu Sheng's eyes filled with confusion. Binglong approached our boy, extended her hand, and with a smile said she had heard of the immortal for a long time. Now that she finally met him, she proposed a sparring match to experience the power of the immortal bloodline. Lu Sheng began to ponder in silence. Everyone felt somewhat curious, waiting for our boy's answer. Lu Sheng's eyes began to shine with surprise. He couldn't believe she was challenging him. Lu Sheng, Sebastian, Ecclesia, and Olu met with Binglong and her warriors on the training grounds. With her arms crossed and a smug smile, Binglong challenged Lu Sheng, asking if his silence meant he was afraid to face her. Lu Sheng simply looked at her without saying a word, staying calm. Meanwhile, Sebastian stroked his beard, thinking this was a great chance. He thought that if they fought, he could get a better look at Lu Sheng's true strength. However, to everyone's surprise, Lu Sheng let out a small laugh. He turned to Sebastian and politely told him that he would rather spend the next few days with his family, so he would not be joining the intensive training. Sebastian, though a bit surprised, accepted Lu Sheng's decision and offered to take him back right away. The response left Binglong completely stunned and visibly annoyed, unable to believe she had been turned down. With a calm smile, Lu Sheng turned and began to walk away. Binglong watched him leave, her hand gripping her sword tightly in frustration. Furious, she thought that the brat surely didn't dare to fight. She reasoned that even if he was an immortal grade, he was still just a level 10, and wondered how he could possibly be as good as her, cursing under her breath. While Binglong was angry, her followers tried to comfort her. The purple-haired woman told her not to worry, promising that if she were to compete against that saint, they would definitely be on her side. Another follower, a bald man, agreed, pointing out that the difference of almost 2 entire realms was not something easily overcome, and reminded everyone that Binglong was not just a simple level 11 warrior. However, their words did little to calm her anger. Furious at being ignored, Binglong exclaimed that Lu Sheng had dared to look down on her. In a flash of rage, she pulled out her sword, unleashing a powerful wave of blue energy. Her followers watched in shock as the immense power of a second limit break, almost a third, radiated from her. They were stunned, realizing that this was Binglong's true strength. With a confident and threatening smile, she declared she would create a tear in the void itself. She then swung her sword, unleashing a massive vertical slash of blue energy that cut through the air before vanishing completely. Her followers were left speechless and sweating, intimidated by the sheer power she had just shown. As the energy faded, the followers began to whisper to each other. The bald man voiced his concern, suggesting they needed to keep an eye on things so that the lunatic Binglong wouldn't find out what they were planning. He called her nothing more than a rabid, brainless dog. The purple-haired woman agreed, pointing out that Lu Sheng's talent was clearly better. She reasoned that although Binglong was stronger now, in the future Lu Sheng would crush her easily. Calling Binglong too stupid to be worth following, she confirmed their decision. The other 2 men quickly agreed with her, laughing as they secretly planned against their leader. Meanwhile, Sebastian teleported Lu Sheng to his family's luxurious villa by the sea. Before leaving, Sebastian advised Lu Sheng that the rewards for the top 10 finishers in the tournament were extremely good. He encouraged Lu Sheng to try and get them, to which our boy confidently replied not to worry. With that, Sebastian said his goodbyes and teleported away. By the pool, Lu Sheng's parents were relaxing. His father commented on how their son wanted them to live there from now on, having bought them the house and provided great food and a place to stay. Lu Sheng's mother was on a video call with friends, telling them that their new life felt like a dream. During the call, she was surprised to learn it was already August back on their home planet, noting the time difference was quite big. Happily, she told her friends she would speak with her son about inviting them all to visit. Her husband agreed, saying they should all come and have a good time. Just as she finished, Lu Sheng suddenly teleported in front of her, announcing his return. Overjoyed, his mother rushed to him, asking when he had gotten back. She fussed over him, saying he looked thinner and tanner, while his father casually greeted him. Lu Sheng looked a little embarrassed. At that moment, Snowy and Chingy walked in with boxes of fruit and snacks. Chingy remarked with a laugh that her big brother could be like that sometimes. Spotting them, Lu Sheng playfully waved, calling out to Snowy that he was home. The sudden greeting caught Snowy by surprise. Qinghe, however, was thrilled and shouted that her brother was back, running to pull him into a big tight hug as the whole family celebrated. Qinghe joyfully shouted that her brother was back, rushing forward to hug him tightly as their parents looked on with warm smiles. Later, the whole family gathered around the dining table for a lively meal, their faces filled with happiness. Lu Sheng's mother lovingly served him food, encouraging everyone to eat more. However, the cheerful mood soon turned more serious. Lu Sheng's mother told him she felt lonely, explaining that in this new place, she didn't know anyone besides his father. Qinghe sadly agreed, adding that she missed her classmates and even the simple things from home. Hearing this, Lu Sheng's father asked his son directly if their plan was really to settle here forever. Lu Sheng turned to Snowy and asked for her thoughts. With a gentle smile, she replied that she would follow whatever decision he made. Taking a moment, Lu Sheng reassured his family. He explained that they didn't have to stay on this planet. They could move to another. More importantly, he promised them that he could arrange to bring everything they missed from the blue planet to them. Their friends, his sister's school, even the food stall by the gate. His family's faces instantly lit up with shock and delight. However, Qinghe asked a logical question. If he could do all that, why couldn't they just live on the blue planet instead? Lu Sheng's expression became serious. He thought to himself that he couldn't possibly tell them the truth, that the blue planet was going to be destroyed in a few years. Explaining the coming alien beast invasion was too complicated and would only make them worry. He knew they had to move eventually, so it was better to do it sooner. Changing the subject, he laid out a new plan. He told them he would spend the next couple of days with them. They would watch the tournament and then travel together to explore the nearby planets. Qinghe was thrilled, exclaiming that it had been far too long since she had gone on a trip with her big brother. Snowy also smiled warmly, agreeing that a family outing was long overdue. That night, inside the family's villa, Lu Sheng and Snowy were in bed, with Snowy sleeping peacefully on his chest. Suddenly, she sat up, waking Lu Sheng, who asked her what was wrong. Turning to him with a smile, she showed him a small, fancy bottle, leaving him confused. She asked him to look at what was inside. With a gentle expression, Snowy explained that since he was leaving home for longer periods now, she had been keeping a lock of his hair in the bottle to remember him by. Lu Sheng seemed to find this amusingly sweet. In a swift, gentle motion, he pushed her back down onto the bed. Blushing, she asked him what he was doing. Leaning over her with a playful smirk, Lu Sheng told her to stop keeping his hair, promising that he would leave her with something more to remember him by. Snowy looked at him, completely surprised. His eyes began to glow a faint blue as he leaned in closer, telling her that she would find out what he meant very soon. The scene then cut to the outside of the villa, where suggestive sounds could be heard from their room, showing the two were sharing a passionate night together. Several days later, the grand tournament began with a massive celebration. A female announcer floated above the arena, energetically welcoming the spectators with fireworks exploding in the background. She announced that the long-awaited interstellar martial arts exchange tournament of the 12-star sectors had finally, officially begun. As she spoke, a massive glowing blue bridge appeared in space, lined with the silhouettes of the countless powerful warriors who would be competing. She declared that the most outstanding martial talents from the 12 sectors would fight, and the audience would witness the birth of a champion. The event was broadcast on a huge scale, with entire planets for spectators, surrounded by floating holographic screens. Lu Sheng, Snowy, and Qinghe watched from a prime location. Qinghe was in awe of the enormous holographic projection, exclaiming how incredible it was. Lu Sheng calmly reassured her that there was no need to rush, as the entire observation planet had been reserved just for them, allowing them to watch from any spot they wished. Soon after, their other guests from the Azure Star, including the Martial Saints, were led to their viewing area. One of the men expressed his amazement, stating that he never thought he would live to see such a huge stellar event, let alone have an entire asteroid as an exclusive viewing box. He marveled at how truly incredible Lu Sheng had become. Watching the scene, Lin Zhengyue, her face partly covered by a mask, thought about Lu Sheng's power. She thought about how back on their home planet, a level 9 warrior like him was practically considered a human god. Yet, here in the vast universe, level 9 fighters were common. Despite being on a stage filled with elite fighters from all over, she noted with pride that Lu Sheng still managed to shine with a dazzling and unique brilliance. Amidst the spectacular futuristic cityscape, Qinghe was ecstatic, exclaiming how amazing everything was. In her excitement, she added that if they only had some fried chicken, it would be even better. Lu Sheng calmly gestured towards a nearby console, telling his sister that if she wanted something to eat, she just had to order it, as there were plenty of options available. As they watched the scenery, Lu Sheng noticed that Snowy, who was standing behind him, seemed unwell, clutching her stomach with a pained expression. He turned to her with concern, placing a hand on her shoulder and asking what was wrong and if she was feeling sick. Blushing deeply, Snowy quickly dismissed his worry, assuring him that it was nothing and that she would be fine in a moment. Lu Sheng looked at her, and a thought crossed his mind. He realized that their passionate night together had been more intense than he thought, and she clearly hadn't fully recovered from it yet. Just then, a firework shot into the sky, signaling the official start of the competition. Qinghe's attention was immediately captured, and she shielded her eyes as she looked up, shouting with excitement that the tournament was about to begin. As fleets of spaceships flew overhead, an official explained that across the 12-star regions, there were tens of millions of level 10 warriors under the age of 1,000. Hearing this staggering number, Lu Sheng quietly wondered to himself if that was considered a lot or a little in the grand scheme of the universe. As the tournament got underway, it was explained that the preliminary and semi-final rounds would last for several days, with the combat continuing without any breaks until the final round concluded. The matches were designed to be non-stop. As soon as one group of fighters finished, the next would begin immediately. This ensured the audience would never be bored, and a key safety feature was in place for the competitors. The fighters all wore semi-transparent combat glasses. These devices allowed them to get an approximate estimate of their opponent's combat power. If the power difference was too vast, the weaker fighter could simply surrender. If the gap was small, they would proceed with the battle, preventing needless injuries and one-sided massacres. Watching this system in action, Lu Sheng found it all a bit peculiar, wondering to himself if this was some kind of universal martial arts trend. After watching the preliminary fights for half a day, Lu Sheng decided it was enough for the time being and took his family to get some lunch and rest. The martial saints, including Lin Zhengyu, were too engrossed in the spectacle and chose to stay behind. They were thrilled, exclaiming that watching a battle between level 10 warriors from across the universe was a rare opportunity. There was no time to rest, and they wished they had more eyes to take it all in. Lu Sheng and his group arrived at a uniquely designed establishment called the Hunter's Restaurant, which was shaped like a giant pineapple with a door that looked like a slice of bread with a sausage for a handle. Intrigued, Qinghe asked Lu Sheng why the restaurant had such a strange name. It was then explained that the planet they were on was said to be filled with monsters that had transformed from delicious food. The martial arts practice on this world was primarily focused on hunting this delicious food as a way to achieve a higher level of culinary enjoyment. As a result, the martial arts masters of this planet were famously known as gourmet hunters, a fascinating piece of local culture for Lu Sheng and his family to discover. With a cheerful attitude, Lu Sheng announced it was time to go in, and his family eagerly followed. As they stepped through the entrance, they were immediately greeted by the restaurant staff with a loud, formal welcome for the immortal Count. An identity scanner at the door had automatically transmitted Lu Sheng's high-status information, ensuring he and his party received the highest honors. The reception was so grand that even the owner of the restaurant, a well-dressed man with purple hair and pointed ears, personally came out from the kitchen to greet them. However, just as they were being led to their table, a hand suddenly pressed against Lu Sheng's chest, stopping him. He looked down to see it was Binglong, the blue-haired warrior who had challenged him earlier. She stood before him, blocking his path with a determined expression. Binglong reminded Lu Sheng that he had rejected her offer to spar the last time they met. She declared that this time he would have no excuse, her hand already gripping the hilt of her sword, ready for a fight. Seeing the tense confrontation, Lu Sheng's family looked on with confusion and concern, wondering who this aggressive woman was. With a calm smile, Lu Sheng turned to his family and reassured them that everything was fine and that it was just someone he knew. His expression then hardened as he turned back to Binglong, his eyes glowing with a faint purple light. He sternly asked if she couldn't see that he was there to have a meal with his family. He then told her that if she truly wanted him to give her a beating, she should wait for him at the entrance, and he would meet her there after he finished eating. Binglong was visibly taken aback by his direct and confident response. Before the situation could escalate, Lu Sheng's mother stepped forward with a warm and disarming smile. She asked her son if the woman was his friend, kindly suggesting that if she was welcome to join them for their meal. Disarmed and flustered by the unexpected kindness of Lu Sheng's mother, Binglong bowed her head slightly, apologized for the interruption, and quickly retreated. Lu Sheng watched her walk away, a stern look on his face. Internally, he thought about how incredibly annoying she was. He had been trying to avoid fighting her out of respect for the officials who had brought him there, but he was quickly realizing that he wouldn't find any peace until he finally gave her the fight she so desperately wanted. With the confrontation over, the family settled in for their meal. The restaurant's service was as unique as its theme, with a variety of alien waiters moving gracefully through the elegant dining room to the sound of soft music. One of the waiters approached their table carrying a small, ornate chest. He opened it to reveal a bizarre, fish-like bowl with large, googly eyes that seemed to be alive. The waiter then carefully placed the peculiar, animated bowl on a plate in front of Lu Sheng. Suddenly, the bowl's outer, rocky layer began to crack and crumble away. In a magical flourish, the exterior disintegrated completely, revealing a beautiful, ornate bowl filled with a steaming, delicious-looking soup, adorned with edible flowers and sparkling with an otherworldly glow. The entire family gasped in unison, their faces filled with pure amazement at the spectacular culinary presentation. A wide, appreciative smile spread across Lu Sheng's face. He thought to himself that while the food at the Hunter's restaurant might not be the most conventionally delicious, it was, without a doubt, the freshest he had ever experienced. At that moment, he finally understood the true meaning of the restaurant's concept, marveling at the incredibly fresh and unique meal before them. The family enjoyed a massive feast, with the table completely covered in a wide variety of delicious-looking dishes. Lu Sheng's father was particularly impressed, exclaiming that the dozen plates they ordered had arrived in just a few minutes, calling it the fastest service in the world. As Lu Sheng took a bite of a large piece of fried chicken, he marveled at how freshly made everything tasted, so much so that he momentarily forgot to record a video for his social media, unlike his sister Changhe, who was busy filming the meal. While eating, Lu Sheng's thoughts drifted back to his earlier encounter. Deciding he needed to know more, he discreetly used a holographic interface to look up information on Binglong. What he found immediately caught his attention. The file revealed that Binglong was a war orphan from a place called the Battlefield Planet. Reading further, Lu Sheng learned about her tragic past. She had no mother, no relatives, and no friends, having lived in complete solitude for over 900 years. Her only known hobbies were ascetic training and food. This information suddenly made her abrasive behavior make sense to him. He concluded that she was essentially a recluse with extremely low emotional intelligence, which explained why she had so persistently and inappropriately challenged him to a fight on 2 separate occasions. While he now understood her reasons, his patience was wearing thin. He resolved then and there that if she dared to challenge him in such a manner one more time, he wouldn't hold back. He would give her the sound beating she was so clearly asking for. A look of determined frustration on his face as he gripped his food tightly.